Hi there, Susan McGarry here. And we're going to talk about Dichro Slide paper. And I've had some Dichro Slide for quite some time and never get around to using it because I don't know what color they'll be after they're fired. So I finally got around to making samples, and this sample is from gofusing.com, but I believe Grasshopper Patterns makes it. But that's where I got it. This sample was made by Dichroic ink, but I don't think they're making them anymore. But you can always check their website to be sure. Once I did the sample on black, I realized I should probably do a sample on white because this Dichro Slide paper works on white or black. Really, really pretty. And there are some advantages. First off, there's so many colors to pick from. There's so many colors. I doubt these are even all the colors. It's just what I have. But they don't add any volume to your project. So if you want to add just a little bit of Dichro, you already have 2 layers of glass. There's no need to add a 3rd layer of Dichro. Also, if you want to do a pattern, some little tiny pattern, instead of using an entire piece of dichroic glass and etching away the Dichro you don't need, in this case, you are just using the Dichro you need. You're not wasting any or etching any away. So that's definitely an advantage to it. So some of the things you can do is cut it, punch it. You can use one of those machines if you have a Silhouette, a Cricut, that type of machine. You can use one of those. It cuts just like paper. So scissors, no problem. You can cover it with clear glass, but it's not necessary. So that's something to think about. You can have it uncovered or covered. And that's why I did my samples with uncovered here. And then this is covered in clear. Very hard to pick up on camera. Just know it's a lot brighter in person than it is showing on camera. I think it's much prettier without the clear on top. As long as I've got these samples done, I'm going to go ahead and make some pieces now that I know what colors they're going to be. For my first one, I'll start with this little one. And since colored glass is a little more expensive than clear glass, I'm just going to use one piece of black and a piece of clear under it. That way I have my 2 layers of glass. For this one, I'm just going to use 2 pieces of black glass. And this one measures 1 1/8 by 1 1/8. This one measures 1 inch by 1 1/2. All right, I'm going to use some punches just for the heck of it because they're so easy. Now this one is actually a Disney punch. It's a little Mickey head. Since I'm using a Mickey punch, I won't be able to sell this pendant, but I can certainly make it for myself. So then I need to pick my color. Since I'm working on black, I want to pick a color that looks well on black. And for the rainbow, okay, do you see how it says Rainbow Sample 1 and Rainbow Sample 2? That's because the rainbow sheets are so different from one end to the other. So I actually took 1 piece off of here and 1 piece off of here. And by marking it Sample 1 and Sample 2, I know that this sort of yellowy green came from this end. And by marking it Sample 2, I put a little 2 on there. See that? I know that this dark green sample, this wider piece, came from this one. So I think for, let's see, I think for my fall leaves, I will use a little yellow and a little green. I might even put a copper cyan there. That's a really pretty one. Let's see if you can see. There you go. I'll use a little copper cyan too. So for the copper cyan, I've got little pieces in here. These are 2 by 2 inch pieces, which is plenty. I'll get out my copper cyan. That's 33022. Let's see, 020. 022, 33022. So I'll use those 3 for my leaves. For this Mickey head, I think I'll use one of these. I'll use this purple. It says GM. And so let me go through these. And imagine how much more I'm going to use these now that I know what color they're going to be. And it only took a little bit. It only took a tiny bit to get a sample out of that. So what you do is line up your little stamp or your scissors or whatever you're doing. We want the least amount of waste. Punch. I now have a little Mickey head that will be purple. While I've got my punches out, I'm going to go ahead and punch my leaves. So I wanted a copper cyan. Let's start with that one. So you can see how I just punched it out, super easy. Now I'm going to use the rainbow from sample 2. This is a little more of a green-blue color. And now from the rainbow sample 1, okay, I've got all my little leaves cut out. I decided to do 2 of each color. And I've got one little Mickey head there. And you're going to want to use warm water. So I've got a little tray here of warm water. We don't want cold water. It will take too long for the dichroic slide to slide off of the paper. And you chance tearing it then, and we don't want to tear it. And we don't want it too hot because then our Dichro slide paper will float off by itself too quickly. So we want something just warm. You want clean water, and what we're trying to do is get the paper on the back to be wet enough that the glue, the little adhesive that's water soluble, will let go of that Dichro and let it slide onto our glass. This should be enough time. We can test it by just using your thumb and pull. It's not ready. If you have to pull too hard, you're going to tear it. So if it's not ready, just put it right back in. Okay, it's starting to slide off of the paper. I don't know if you can see that. See how it's starting to slide off of the paper? So it's ready to go onto our glass. And that little ear tore off. Did you see that? His little ear tore off because it was being held on by such a tiny piece. So what I'm going to do, it looks like the other one's a little weak too, is I am going to overlap that ear with the head. Can you see that? Alright, I'm going to put that on top of clear, and I'm going to fire that in the kiln to a full fuse. Now let's do these leaves. I'm going to put all the leaves in the water at the same time, and now we're just going to let them sit in the water. Okay, I think they're ready. Let's check it. Yep, it's starting to slide off. So I'm going to put one there. And these are a lot stronger because they don't have that little weak connection where the ear was on the Mickey, so these will be nice. See how nicely they're sliding off the paper for me. And we don't have to put them in their exact position, you know, where they're going to end up right now. I can move them around a little bit. I'm going to get them all on here first. Alright, let me get a little of the water blotted out so that they're not floating around. I'm just moving around until I see something I like. Alright, I think I like this. There you go, you can see that. Just random leaves, fall leaves. I'm going to blot all the water out. There we go. All right, I've got 2 layers of glass. That's ready to go in the kiln. So I've got my 2 pendants, and I will fire these on a jewelry firing schedule because they're so small. They can go pretty fast. I'm going to go 500 degrees an hour Fahrenheit to 1450 degrees Fahrenheit and hold for 10 minutes. And in the Celsius world, that's 260 degrees Celsius to about 785 degrees Celsius, and again hold for 10 minutes. When I'm all done, I'll go ahead and glue the bales on with the E6000, you know that's my favorite, and I'll show you what they look like. Alright, since my little Mickey ears tore, I decided to punch out just the ears. Can you see those little ears right there? There they are. Out of this right here, the CRs. So on top of this purple, we're going to have a little orange ears. So I'm going to put those little ears in the water, wait for them to slide, and then slide them off on top of the purple ears that are already there. So I think this little mistake will turn out to be a very happy accident. Okay, they're starting to slide off, so I'm going to slide my little orange Dichro ears on top of the purple. And I've included a little bit of the head on there to cover that gap between the ear and the head. I want to make sure I've got all the air and water out of there, and now this is ready to fire. Okay, here's our finished pieces. They came out pretty darn nice. I really like them. I love all the different colors of leaves on there. I think that gives it a really nice look. And I love the way the little Mickey head turned out. And something I read in the instructions about this is that some of the colors blow off and travel when fired uncapped. And so what has happened is the little specks of purple and orange have blown off, and let's see if you can see that. Little specks around here, around the top of it. And so I really like it. I think it gives it kind of a sparkly, magical look around it, which I think is fantastic. Almost like a little pixie dust looked. So I really like it. If you didn't want that, you can cap it. And to cap it, you would make sure that you put the decals on, let them dry completely, and then cap it with your clear before you fire it. You don't want to trap that liquid, you know, the water in between the glass when you're firing it. And then something else to note on all these decals, I've never seen one so far that doesn't fall into this category. It can be fired on any COE glass. 90, 96, plate glass, bottle glass, anything you've got, they can be fired. So that's one really great advantage to these decals. So when they were all done, I went ahead and used the Dremel to etch just a little bit, and then I used some E6000 to glue them on, and then I wait 24 hours and put them in my oven, my actual oven. You can do it in your kiln if you're not comfortable, but I put it in my oven at Fahrenheit 275 degrees. I think that's 135 Celsius, I'm not sure, just for 20 minutes. And that sets the glue, the E6000. If you don't have E6000, there's also Goop. It works pretty similar, and I get it at the hardware store. It's much cheaper. And again, links to all these things will be in the description below. So thanks for joining me. Be cool, honey bunnies. Bye. I received these in the mail after a majority of my filming was done, but I wanted to include them in this video because I wanted you to see them. This is from Grasshopper patterns, and they're just variety packs. They have many little pieces in them, but they have a standard amount of square inches included in it for a pretty good price. And so I won't necessarily be testing these, but I will definitely be using them. What they included in my order, which I thought was pretty exciting, was these 2 patterned pieces. All right, can you see that pattern? So I just wanted to show you that there are other ways of buying them rather than in sheet. All right, thanks for joining me. Be cool, honey bunnies. Bye.